I can do this. And many people kind of try to talk me out of it, say you're crazy, you've just landed, it's only been 3 years, you have young children, what if it doesn't work? And I said, yeah, but what if it does?
Welcome everyone to the Mooting Society's YouTube interview series, where we interview legal professionals here in the region. And today we are with Sarah Malik. Thank you so much for your time that you're able to have this interview here with us today. Could you please introduce yourself, a bit of background on your career, and also your role as a CEO at SOL International?
Sure. Well, firstly, thank you for having me here. My name's Sarah Malik. I'm a disputes practitioner. Barrister by background. I was called to the bar in 2000, so a long time ago. I practiced in London for 15 years before I came out to Dubai. I was at the top 20 commercial chambers. I set up SOL about 5 years ago, 5 years on Monday in fact, and we initially set up as a boutique dispute resolution practice. That's expanded into doing tech, fashion, sports, entertainment. We do commercial, we do employment. We're a team of 6 and we have 7 consultants as well, based in ADGM, and have a kind of wide international client base.
That's great, Sarah. Thank you so much. And as a bit of an icebreaker, since we're recording here in the law library, I would just like to ask, what was your best and your worst subject while studying law in university?
I hated trusts and I hated criminals, both
Really?
equally. I shouldn't say I hate, it's a strong word, but I disliked. And I really enjoyed, I did IP and I never kind of took it up later, but I did remember really enjoying that. I did IP and I enjoyed that.
Yeah, that's really good. I think I can resonate with trusts, especially it was a subject in my final year and one of the hardest ones that I've had to go through. And yeah, I think one of the first questions that we would like to ask you is, what sparked your interest in law and why did you specialize as a barrister, and why specifically dispute resolution and arbitration?
Sure. So when I was younger, I knew I'd be a lawyer. I come from a family of lawyers. There's about 17, 18 lawyers in my family, 2 of my uncles, their wives, cousins. So I kind of grew up in a legal background. And I used to go to the offices with one of my uncles I was very close to, and he had lovely offices and a lovely boardroom. And I remember being about 6 thinking, I want to do this when I grow up. So that's where my interest in law sparked. I spent a lot of time in his offices. The reason to go to the bar came later. I wasn't sure. I started doing work experience when I was young, probably 13, 14. At those days you could. And I was doing, bits of work experience in offices and chambers probably when I was about 17. And then I saw the difference in the role between solicitors and barristers, and I thought I definitely want to kind of be at the forefront. I want to be in court, I want to litigate. I don't want to be in an office. And from then on, I decided I'd do the bar. When I was at university, I was in the Mooting Society, and that again cemented the interest in advocacy, and decided I'd go for the bar and not be a solicitor.
That's amazing that you chose that path, because now you've become such a successful international disputes counsel. And I just want to ask, what were some key moments in your career that really led to such a successful career?
It's not, I think you just got to make the most of where you're at and what you're given, and it's your own kind of purpose or intention. I always challenge myself. I'll never just have one thing going on. I often get asked the question, how do you kind of do everything and cope? And I don't sit still. I'm always thinking of what next to do, what next. Good or bad, I don't know, but that's, I think, for me personally. I'll stop something, and before that stops, I'm already doing 5 other things in the pipeline. I'm not going to say I get bored easily, but if it gets too kind of monotonous or routine, I need to do something else. So that's why I've kind of ventured into other areas, whether that be tech, whether that be sports, whether that be fashion. They're areas I have an interest in, and I'd kind of pick it up and I'm like, okay, I want to learn about this, I want to do this. So I think for me personally, the barometer, the threshold, the criteria, it's my own challenge. It's my own it's my purpose. I like to keep going. I like to kind of be innovative, forward thinking. And I think key challenges, I mean, the legal profession, I've seen it change hugely in the last 20 years. I've seen, the kind of access open up. I've seen different areas of law come to the forefront. I've seen a different way of working post-pandemic. So all of these moments together, you can put them together in a timeline to define. But I think ultimately it has to come from within. I always say to the students, I say to interns, I say to the girls or boys who work with me, if you don't have that hunger in your soul, if you don't have, fire in your belly to be a lawyer and you want to keep learning and keep challenging, it's probably not right for you. It's not a job. It's not just something you turn up and do. You've got to have that kind of conviction. You've got to have that desire to kind of, push the law, implement the law, change the law, do better.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Sarah. That was so inspiring. And you've mentioned a couple of industries and cases that you've had experience in and that you practice in personally and also in your firm. Could you walk us through those industries that you deal with, and also what makes each of them unique, and which ones do you enjoy working the most in?
I think as a lawyer, you'll end up specialising at some point in your career, but even in your specialisation, you come across a variety of industries. So for example, I did a lot of employment law in the UK, and through employment law, everybody has employees. So you could be car manufacturers, you could be, a HR, you could be an accountancy firm, professional, you could be white collar, blue collar, you could be factory workers or a factory itself. The employment law permeates throughout. You've got to be able to understand the industry you're working in. I've had fun. I used to do at one stage do a lot of work in the car industry, and I actually went to the plants and I saw how things worked, and that's the best way, because when you're cross-examining, you can really understand and question somebody in their own kind of shoes, saying, well, it's supposed to happen like this, this and this. And they're thinking, how does she know that kind of detail? Because you're picturing it, because you understand it, because you've seen it. I did a lot of work in the UK also in investigations, and I really enjoyed those. Some kind of high profile, obviously all confidential. I did some investigations into Premiership Football Club, issues for about 6 to 7 weeks. I was based on ground. That was something different. And again, that put in the skill of the investigation, the employment side, because it was quasi-employment. I've done work in the animal practice, like with vets. It's very varied. And you get to learn a lot about different industries and how things work. So it's quite interesting.
Yeah, thank you for your take on that. It's really amazing how you're able to use your knowledge of the industry and the technicalities in your cross-examination and really put your knowledge to good use. And I know that in some of the cases that you handle, you deal with a lot of international cases with diverse legal backgrounds, diverse people. How do you navigate these issues in cross-border disputes?
But you never pretend to be an expert on everything, and I think every lawyer needs to understand what their limitation is, what their expertise is, and that's how you maintain a good reputation or a great reputation, and you deliver. So if somebody came to me today and said, oh, so what's the employment law in Singapore? I don't know, all right? But I can find that out. I can work with local counsel. I've had, for example, clients who have cross-border disputes. They may well have an issue that's ongoing here, and there's equal kind of parallel proceedings in the UK, maybe even in Singapore. UK and here I can handle. If I'm dealing with local law, I instruct local counsel. And it's the same in any jurisdiction you are. You have to have the right network and be able to reach out and instruct and be involved with local counsel who know that area particularly well. You might be able to advise on strategy, but you can't do that without knowing the law. So you have to work with those who are expert in that area. And as the work we do, we've built up kind of best friend relationships with various firms worldwide, because we do have a lot, especially say in the arbitration world, or when we have multi-jurisdictional disputes. There could be disputes even emanate from a shareholding of a large company or a partnership. You do need to reach out and have that connection with overseas lawyers, because what they bring to the table you can't. And I think if you work collaboratively, you get the best outcome for your client.
So it definitely takes a lot of teamwork, a lot of communication.
It's like project management as well, because you have to kind of know who's doing what and how it all fits together, and how, if you need advice on a certain aspects of law in another jurisdiction, how that's going to fit into whatever you're doing in your jurisdiction. You don't want to kind of upset the apple cart in your jurisdiction by doing something elsewhere. So you have to know the consequences of an action, and if you're doing something elsewhere, does that affect what you're doing on ground? And all of those factors have to be borne in mind. So it's almost like a game sometimes, like a chess game, and making sure all the pieces fit.
Yeah, definitely. That's so insightful. And you've mentioned that you had practice as a barrister both in the UK and also here in the UAE. And we would just like to know, what are the key opportunities or challenges that you faced while working in both jurisdictions?
Well, there's always at the UK, in the UK, I was at the self-employed bar, so I was in chambers, and from the age of 19 or 20 when I started working, I was kind of self-employed. It was sink or swim, get on with it, you build your own practice. To me, some people see that as a challenge, I see that as an opportunity. So you're not kind of have this, you don't have a background of a huge law firm and a name and lots to do, you make your own name. And I think that's why at a very young stage of my career, I was out networking, I was building a practice, I had no choice. I had to go out and meet people, I had to kind of talk, I had to network, I had to take opportunities. So I think that's the only way to do it. Not everybody's comfortable in the networking, but there's other ways to do it. You can write, you can get visibility. It's about kind of being visibility. So having visibility, should I say. So their opportunities are everywhere. It's about how you utilize them and think outside the box. So everybody is applying to law firms or chambers for pupilages or internships or experiences, but you know what, companies have legal departments as well. Who's going to the company to say, can I come and do a week or 2 weeks with you? Who's offering some pro bono, obviously under supervision? Who's put a society together themselves, pretty similar to what you guys have done here, and raising awareness and visibility. So those are all opportunities you can make along the way. And it's the same when you're in practice. I don't think there's any such thing as being able to sit back and expecting it to kind of fall on your lap. You have to go out and make it. And there are challenges, of course there's challenges. At the bar, for example, when you start out, you're not salaried, it's you're self-employed, so cash flow can be a challenge, or you don't know, what you're going to bill 1 month and what you're going to get paid, and then you kind of learn to deal with that. And then I think when you're quite young in your career, or early on in your career, you think, I'm kind of quiet this week, but that never lasts. So now even with SOL, if we have a day or two where there's not much on, I'm like, just relax, chill, this isn't going to last, so let's make the most of it. So I think you'll make your own opportunities, you'll find opportunities. And we were always told, and something I remember from my days of studying was, just take each opportunity. You never know the meeting you go to or the conference or the seminar, who you're going to meet, whose hand you're going to shake, whose phone number you're going to get, and where that can lead. And I absolutely endorse that. You don't know. And as a lawyer, your contact database, your colleagues, your connections are absolutely key.
That's really insightful, Sarah, and I've seen how you really are a self-starter and you're really amazing at building your own personal brand. And we know, as you've mentioned, that you've been able to start a boutique law firm here in the UAE. And I'm just curious to know, what was the reason behind starting that firm? And also, what were some of the challenges that you faced while establishing a firm here?
So I'd always been at the independent bar in the UK. I'd always worked for myself. Obviously coming out to the UAE, there weren't chambers, that you just join, and you need to have a basis, and you need to have clients. So I took a job with an international law firm, and I headed their advocacy and investigations team. And I think pretty quickly on, I realised that I liked being my own boss. I liked my freedom. I liked how I worked in the UK. And I wanted to replicate that here, but I needed time. So I worked for 3.5 years, and in that time I ensured that I did the Chartered Student Arbitrators course. I started to teach at this university. I just upskilled to make sure that if I want to transition and I want to do my own thing, I'm equipping myself the best way. Equally at the same time, it was great to be in the law firm, because you do need a period of kind of learning the law of the land and how things work. And I was given that opportunity. But I don't think I ever would have stayed employed for any length of time. And after a while, and when I'm comfortable and I've kind of, found my way around the jurisdiction and met some people, thought I can do this. And many people kind of try to talk me out of it, say you're crazy, you know, you've just landed, it's only been 3 years, you have young children, you know, what if it doesn't work? And I said, yeah, but what if it does? And if it doesn't, I'll get a job, someone's going to employ me, right? So I'll come back to the employed workforce, but I have to give this a go. It's not for everyone.
Yeah.
But I always knew even when I came out here, I wouldn't just sit still and just kind of, you know, go through the run of the mill. I think it goes back to my first answer, which is I'm forever challenging myself and looking for something else. And if I do the same thing over and over again, I tend to lose interest.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing that you took that chance, and now SOL is going on to 5 years. I just want to ask, what are the core values that you like to uphold in the firm, and how do you maintain it across your team?
Okay. So to me, the kind of concept of being a lawyer and being unreachable by your clients is just not acceptable. And I wanted a law firm or a practice that modern, innovative, kind of challenges the norm. Like lawyers are seen to be, you know, very proper, and we kind of go into a cupboard at night and we don't have a life and we don't laugh, and you know, we're very serious and we know big fancy words, but actually the reality is very different. Clients appreciate the trust, clients appreciate you being yourself, clients appreciate the authenticity. And I think that's what I wanted and have established. So it's a law firm that's very disruptive in terms of, you know, we don't follow the well-trodden path, but equally in terms of core values, which are hugely important to us, it's about delivering with trust, integrity, never kind of over-promising and under-delivering, openness with our clients, a commitment to excellence, and to work together. SOL is not a product of just me. SOL is because I've had great people around me, a team that's fantastic, and working together and collaboratively has got us where we are. I also massively believe in everybody has a voice at the table. How I think maybe really archaic or old-fashioned. I'm always interested in knowing other people's views, or how can we do things differently, or what should we be doing, or how can we stay ahead of the game, what's, you know, innovative. And I think you have to adapt to challenge, you have to adapt to change, should I say, in your practice, otherwise it doesn't work. So I think our core values will always be, you know, openness, integrity, a commitment to excellence, and to have fun on the way, you know. It's, if you come into work each day and you're just counting down the clock, then it's not right for you. So I know it might be a bit of an oxymoron, how can you make law fun, but I think we do. So we like to kind of, you know, work hard, play hard. And the team I encourage as well to make sure that they feel empowered, they are able to kind of speak their minds, and if they don't agree with the way we're doing things or they have better ideas, we embrace those. And I'm very much about also pushing the team to reach their potentials and giving them opportunities, whether it's to write, speak or otherwise, and to make sure they're recognised for their contributions. So I think it's important.
Yeah, definitely. In the short time I've interned at SOL, it was such an incredible learning experience, and I could see those values displayed every day that I was there. And I think that that's something that you've extended to the legal community here in the UAE and internationally as well, as we've seen your great contributions through the panels that you're a part of, and also the various events that you've been a part of. And I just wanted to ask, how has giving back to the legal community enriched your practice and also business in the firm?
I think it's hugely important. I mean, I always enjoyed teaching. Even when I was a pupil barrister, I taught A-level students on weekends. It was not bad in terms of it was extra money, and also I like to kind of give back. I think it's important for lawyers, and the kind of higher up you go, the more senior you get, to always give back. Nobody ever falls or gets poor by raising others, or by helping others rise, or by sharing knowledge, or by lifting others. And I think there's a duty on us all to give back. And I think the more you can see people are either inspired or empowered, or choose a career because, you know, they've heard somebody speak, or they want to follow that path, it's really satisfying. There's very few things as a lawyer, and the kind of more senior you get, that you actually pat yourself on the back, or, you know, you get a recognition, you know, so you do panels when you win cases, that's expected. And I think when someone reaches out and says, you know, I really enjoyed listening to you, or I'm really inspired to kind of, you know, be like you, or set up something like you, or you've shown that it can be done, to me, that makes a difference. And even if it makes a difference to one person, it's worth it. Yeah. So I think giving back and passing on the knowledge to the next generation, who are the future, is, I'd say it's absolutely key. It's not just about, oh, you should do it to tick a box. You should do it because you want to do it and because it's needed. And I think however much you learn from all these books, the reality that you can take from a practitioner who's in the space, who's got lots of years of experience, tells you as it is, gives you guidance, gives you tips, you can't replicate that. And that's where the next generations learn. And I think it's also not only the next generation, I think even internationally there's nothing wrong in kind of knowledge sharing. And I've always been about collaboration and not competition. There's enough to go around for everyone. I think when you reach a level in yourself and your career, when you're confident in yourself, you never feel insecure about, if I'm imparting this knowledge, it's somehow going to take away from me. It doesn't. It never has. Nobody's ever got poor by giving.
Yeah. Oh, that's really great. And I know balancing all these other passions that you have with your business and the firm and also your personal practice, I'm just curious to know how you balance all these responsibilities.
I think, I don't know if balance is the right word. I don't think you ever have a equilibrium where everything is running like clockwork in every department, and that's the reality. People like to think, oh, you know, I've got my house locked down and my children and my work and my social life and my friends and my health. It's never like that. You're always kind of, you know, this is lacking a bit and then that's lacking, and that's life. And I think as you go through, when I look back through the last few decades of my life, what were priorities to me at 20 changed, at 13 changed, at 14 no doubt will change as the years go on. So I think you just give priority more to what's important at that stage. And you learn not to beat yourself up about the fact that you're not, you know, 100% in every single department. And I think when you have that mindset that I can do it, it can be done, then even if you're not kind of performing at 100% in each area, as long as you're able to bring it together, you're doing what you need to do. And I think it's a nonsense that people say, I've got absolutely everything, you know, exactly how I want it. You know, there'll be times I'm sat in the office or working and I'm thinking, oh, I wish I could be with my kid, or, you know, you're with your kid and you think, oh, I need to be doing this brief, or oh, I feel bad, I need to fly, and there's always, you know, something that you have to give to get. But it's that sacrifice and that mindset that elevates you. Because if you just sit back and take the easy approach, and I'm just going to do the job and then I'm going to go home and that's the end of my role in the legal field for the day, then you're not going to elevate. And it's not a problem, it's not for everyone. But I just think your balance is the balance to you. My balance today might not be what's right for you, and your priorities starting off your career are very different to what mine are today. And that will change as you grow older. And I always say, as human beings, we probably have a checklist of about 10 things. And we all have the same 10 things. But where we place those just keeps changing as life goes on and our lives change. So what was very important there might be here now, and something that was here might go to the top of the list. And that's how we accommodate our work-life balance and all the other, you know, day-to-day activities or otherwise we have.
Yeah, that's incredible, Sarah. That's really, really insightful. And, you know, since we have you here for our interview, we'd like to benefit a bit from your expertise in dispute resolution here in the UAE, and especially as you're very involved in the scene here in the UAE, we'd like to know, what do you believe are some trends that could arise and really shift the way that the practice area is here in the UAE?
So look, I've seen a lot of change in the last 10 years I've been here in the UAE in the legal landscape. I see a lot more kind of energy disputes, I think, with the way Abu Dhabi is placed and COP28 and everything that's happening. I think energy is a huge area. Crypto, ESG, that's massive everywhere, not just here, but you can see a lot more of that happening. I think post-COVID, the real estate boom is back. You're going to have issues that come out of that. So litigation and arbitration is ongoing. I think you're also going to see generally in the region and and within the wider kind of MENA region, the entertainment side, you see even in Saudi, the huge giga projects and all of the entertainment venues that are being set up. So I think those are going to become issues to at the forefront. And of course, that's all assimilated with tech. So the use of tech disputes, question mark, do we need to have separate tech arbitration or court, or otherwise is it going to become that kind of area? You can't escape it. It's there, it's happening. You know, I think lawyers need to get their head around that. So those kind of trends are already emerging and you see them becoming stronger. I also think there's going to be an assimilation between the civil and the common law that we practice here in this jurisdiction. We see huge changes in recent times where, for example, you know, English can be spoken in the Dubai courts, and we've had, even in Abu Dhabi, we've had chambers, for example, in real estate and the commercial chambers where they've had foreign experts. And there's the Emiratization program where Emiratis are to be in kind of international practices. I really do think, even though we're in a very special hybrid jurisdiction because we have the common and civil law, I see that merging together more as the years come, because the work that's being undertaken by the two is increasingly finding a common path. So I do envisage changes. We've seen changes in the law generally. It's become more kind of expat friendly as well. Some of the status laws and personal status laws and otherwise have been introduced. And I just think Dubai, or this region generally, the Middle East, has done very well in terms of maintaining itself economically and otherwise through difficult periods where we've seen the world has had a lot of issues, and people are now looking towards this region as a leader. So I think it's really exciting times to be here in the legal profession because changes are being made which I think will impact not only regionally but globally.
Yeah, thank you for your insight, Sarah. And definitely those changes are really upcoming. And I just want to ask, how is your practice and your firm's practice adapting to these changes? And how do you see that impacting your practice for the next few years?
I think traditional law will always be there. So your kind of standard, you know, the disputes and employment issues, real estate. I call that kind of traditional law because, you know, it's always been there. We adapt because I always look for what the next opportunity or challenge is, or how the market is changing, and I don't wait to see when it's changed. You keep your eye on the ball and you know which way it's going. So what we do at SOL is kind of try to keep ahead of the game and make sure that we adapt to that change. So for example, in the last 10 years, or certainly since SOL has been in the last 5 years, tech has become a big area of practice. I never practiced tech before, but for the last kind of 4 years we've been doing tech internationally, and it's increasingly, there's more startups, there's the whole the crypto, there's the regulations that are being made in those industries. So all of those are just becoming more and more. And how do we adapt to it is you have to learn about it, you have to understand it, you have to really educate yourself on that area and go to courses or attend courses before you start to understand that you can impart that knowledge. So I think what we try to do at SOL is stay ahead of the game and be more proactive than reactive to changes. I foresee the kind of whole fashion, sports, entertainment being massive in this region. It's an area that's always interested me. I've never had time to really sit down and properly get a grounding. I did recently. So I think it's important to kind of master your art before you present that. And the only way you can do that is know what's happening, stay ahead. I'm an avid reader and I'm always looking at updates, and I'm always, you know, I'm on LinkedIn, I can read, you know, updates of what's going on, you know, for a good hour of, you know, different things geographically, internationally. And it's only by that kind of insight into knowledge do you understand what's happening, or you have an idea. I don't just wake up and know that something's going to happen. It's through reading and researching and analysing. And I think that you can't escape that as a lawyer if you want to kind of keep on top of your game. So that's the way to kind of foresee and adapt to trends and the new opportunities that come in the legal profession.
That's great, Sarah. It's great that you're really forward thinking and you don't just go with the trend. You really find the trend and maybe even set it. This is a final question. I would like to ask what your message is for the mooting society here at Middlesex, especially those who are looking to practice dispute resolution and possibly become a barrister as well.
Look, firstly, I think what you guys are doing is amazing. I came recently to your event and it's really quite commendable how far you guys have gone in such a short space of time. So well done. Secondly, I think those who want to be involved in dispute resolution, who see themselves as future advocates, you have to be involved in societies like this. You have to master your public speaking. You have to master your ability to dissect information and present it in an articulate and kind of organised fashion. I think lend on support where you can. There's more senior, even students here, so when the juniors come in and having an open talk with them to say this is what the reality is. Getting in practitioners to speak to them and see if they can give up some of their time or lend some of their time is really important. And we talked earlier about the difference between learning the academic side of law and the reality. And I'd always say to students, try and do some work experience, try and go and see the inside of a courtroom and how it actually works. Is that right for you? Because you might have an idea of how it works maybe from the TV and, you know, we wish it was like that, you know, some of the kind of Suits or the other programs that we come across, it's not like that. And then you really do have an idea of whether that's right for you. Understand the process of how a client coming to you and you ending up in a courtroom happens. What's all the intervening steps? How are you going to get involved in that? Is that something for you? It's not just about being in court. So I think it's important for anybody, students or otherwise, who aspire to be barristers, advocates, to really understand how it works and then decide if it's for them. Show a willingness to learn. I think there comes a point where, and even for us, you know, we were inundated with applications for internships, for traineeships, for work. And it's very difficult often to kind of choose because we take as given everybody's got good grades, everybody's involved. So you're always looking for that something extra, and that extra is giving up your time, being involved in societies or debating societies, mooting societies, and showing that you are actively involved. Sometimes having to give up weekends, for example, and organising or attending these kind of events. And I think by doing that, you're not only upskilling, and you're also able to get ahead because not everybody's doing it. How do I differentiate you from somebody else? So I think you always have to be at the forefront of what you want to do and then do it properly and understand it. So to me, if you want to be a barrister, I want to ask you, what do you think a barrister does? You know, tell me, what do you think we actually do? We don't just go to court and speak. How do you think we get there? What's our day-to-day life? And you, who wants to be a barrister, should be able to answer that because you've either done your research, had your insights, spoken to barristers, and also then it's good for you because you understand, is this the life I want? So really understand your platform, understand your position before you decide. And I think that advice permeates throughout your legal career. I said earlier, it's easier for me to cross-examine if I've done a site visit, if I've really, understood the industry, and it's the same in anything you do. Really understand it to be able to do it effectively.
That's great advice, Sarah. Well, that wraps up our interview. Thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure, and it's been very insightful and also inspiring for us to hear from you, Sarah.
Thanks, and best of luck to you all, and keep doing what you're doing. There's very good things going on here, so thank you very much. Okay.